Yes, it's Monday, and we all know what that means, don't we? Yes, we do. It's time to talk about ghosts, or, in and out of random chitter-chatter with me, Kev. Hi, like the intro says. Well, I hope you're all doing wonderfully well. It's a new week. We've had an emergency test system rolled out in the UK, which has caused all sorts of paranoia and controversy, mainly in my head. But my key reason for that paranoia is this, and it's quite simple. You don't buy a tent unless you're planning on going camping. Now, I think that the UK government knows something we don't. Am I being paranoid? Yes, probably. Does everywhere else in the world already have such a system in place? Yes, they arguably do. Not even arguably, they do. And I know it comes in useful in the States and places where they're like, a child's been stolen, because that's how you describe it. A child's been kidnapped from Minnesota, keep an eye out for a red Cadillac, etc., etc., etc. And that works. But this seems to be a little bit more, I don't know. Well, let's put it this way. We were in Liverpool one shopping centre when this emergency test text went out. And not only did it go out to the phones, there was also a siren played in the centre. So audibly, even if you didn't have your phone with you, you would have heard a physical alarm from within the centre. Now, that seems, I don't know, seems a little bit more panic-inducing than, I don't know. I don't want to scare anyone. I just think we're all going to die. Be it at the hands of nuclear war or at the hands of our alien overlords. Don't you find it? You know the one thing, because I do have, unfortunately, I do have a slightly conspiratorial brain. Now, you could, if you're me, sew together a timeline of events where you're like, okay, so over in America last month, they were using Sidewinder missiles to shoot unknown objects out of the sky. The following month, the UK say, we need to get in touch with you in case there's an actual chance that the country becomes under threat. And it's like, okay, well, who would be threatening us? Yes, we're at war with Russia, technically. But, what about these people who live in the sky? Are they coming too? I don't know. I think it's best if we don't panic. As that man on Dad's Army would say, don't panic, don't panic. Can't remember his name. Corporal Jones, was it? All the Americans who listen to this now are going, what the fuck is Dad's Army? Well, let me tell you, it was a sitcom from the 70s and 60s, which was amazing, and you should watch it if you can. But amazing British sitcoms aside, we are here to talk about ghosts. Now, first and foremost, you need to know that when you sign up to our Patreon, not only do you support the show, which you do, but you receive 2 shows each and every week just for Patreons. One is a ramble, because as you can tell, I get caffeinated, I like to talk. The other is me and Becca, and we try and discuss something paranormal. This week, we looked at spiritual belief from the start of man's life, from the early ages of man, just like Neanderthals. What did they believe in? Or what did this book that we read believe that they believed in? So it was quite a good chat. So that's what you get anyway. So you need to head over to patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts. And when you do so, not only do you get all those shows, you get access to the back catalogue of those, which is over 200 hours worth of stuff. And I also sing your name as a thank you. And the guitar is well and truly out, and we have 2 wonderful new Patreons this week. We have Stacey Bristol and Emily. And this little, I don't know what you call her, kind of country and western, I don't know. This is for you anyway. Stacey Bristol and Emily, they've done what comes quite naturally to a paranormal fan. You see, they've signed right up to Patreon. Stacey Bristol and Emily, they've done what comes quite naturally. They've signed up to the Patreon. They're gonna get those extra shows, and I wanna say thank you from the bottom of my swinging brick to you. Oh, I wanna say thank you. You've signed up to the Patreon, you're gonna get those extra shows. Thank you. That was an E7th, but we are capoed, because I know there are people out there who try and play along. They don't. Who would try and play along to that? But if you're that way inclined, it's capoed on the 2nd. We ended it on just snapped a string. We ended it on a 7th. And, yeah. Can't believe it snapped a string. Anyway, that's what you get when you play guitar. You got to back up strings. I don't. I'm one of those musicians musicians. Anyway, I'm one of those guitar players who, when you buy a guitar, you have the strings it came with and you play it, and then when one snaps, you sell the guitar and buy another. So yeah, buy a guitar. Anyway, thank you for signing up to Patreon. I hope you enjoy all the extra content that you're going to receive. And if you guys would like to sign up, head over to patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts. Now let's have a paranormal review, shall we? Yes, it's that time of the week where I review something paranormal so that you don't have to bother reviewing it for yourself, leaving yourself a little note about whether you like it, and then deciding whether to take the advice of yourself. You see how that's all nonsense? So I'll just do a paranormal review so that you don't have to. Anyway, this week we're going to review a podcast because we haven't done one in a while. And this is one that came on my radar recently, or come on my radar recently. I don't know. Anyway, it's called The Confessionals, and it's done by a host called Tony Merkel, and you might be aware of it. And if you're not, I think it's a really good one to have in your rotation, because there will be some episodes like you'll be like, nah, not going to listen to that, because he covers the whole gamut of the unexplained, and some of it I'm just not into. I'm not really a cryptid fan as such. But then, for example, if I just look at the last 10 episodes, so there's Touched by a Bigfoot, or Touching a Bigfoot, and the next episode was Hunting Down Bigfoot. I'm not going to listen to that. I might put them on in the background for whatever reason, but then there's an episode called Hauntings at Sea and a Home, and that is good, so I will listen to that. I'm not saying the others are bad. I'm just not interested in the cryptid area. So my point being is that if you are interested in the gamut of the unexplained, it's an excellent show. But also, if you're just interested in the paranormal, then there are a few really good episodes that jump out. So all in, from my perspective, and he's a great host too. He's got a lot of patience, if I'm being perfectly honest. And what I mean by that is, because he deals in the full gamut of the unexplained, he's going to have people on, like he's up to episode 540. So when you go back through the catalogue, there are people who are like, well, yes, I speak to people from Zeta Reticuli and like places like that, and he's like, okay, so what do these guys tell you? And they're like, well, they tell us that we're not going to be here long because they're going to invade the Earth. So you've got to take, but whereas I'd be like, nah, he's like, okay, well, thank you for coming on the show. So he's a very respectful and sincere, and he just seems a very patient host. I do really like his cadence, and I think you guys will too. And as I say, if you just want to go there and cherry pick out the paranormal stories or episodes, you can. So all in, for me, The Confessionals, hosted by Tony Merkel, is currently 2 thumbs up to the sky. I haven't listened to the others. I'm sure it's not. I hope it's not, because I am a relatively new listener. But I hope there's no sort of like nastiness in past episodes and I'm going to regret doing this review. I'm sure there's not. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but I've had my fingers bent before by going, this podcast is great. And I've got like 14 episodes deep. And then they're like, of course, we need to get rid of LGBTQ rights. And you're like, what? Oh my God, I've told people to listen to this. But hopefully that doesn't happen here. And touch wood, and I'm touching wood, like as in a desk, don't be rude. Currently, there doesn't seem to be any red flags, and it looks like it's a great podcast. So I would suggest checking it out. If you guys are deeper into this podcast than I am, and you know something I don't, please correct me. But as it stands, also 540 episodes, there's some content there for you to delve in if you like it. So yeah, for me, currently, I'm enjoying going through the catalogue. Really good host, from what I can tell. So yeah, 2 thumbs up as we stand. Hooray, it's time for my favourite part of the week, where we get to read your true paranormal experiences out. As you all know by now, I don't pre-read these things because I like to have a genuine reaction at the end. But often it can mean that I fall over my words or I say things out of context. So bear with me, please. But let's all learn together as we read an email that came in from Samantha. And she writes, this is called, by the way, Just a Small Little Story. But that's fine because we have an epically long Reddit corner today. So thank you, Sam. And it reads, hello, Kevin. Hi. Becca. Hi. And the neighbour's cat. Meow. Ooh, feisty. Here's one for you. You know the cat cafe? Have you got cat cafes where you live? I don't know whether you do. But basically, it's a cafe with cats in. I mean, that may sound obvious. And you go in and the cats are very docile and it's lovely. Anyway, I follow them on Facebook, the Liverpool Cafe. And one of their cats is retiring, right? Aged 5. Now, our lovely little neighbour's cat has just turned 5. And I'm like, how are you at fucking retirement age? You've never worked a day in your life. Next, she'll be living in a condo in Florida, like the Golden Girls. Anyway, I continue. I'm not much of a great storyteller, and I haven't experienced much in my life apart from little things here and there. I do believe in these things, but I have a good dose of skepticism. And I probably put a lot of stuff down to jute. And jute, for the newer listeners, means just one of those things. Thank you very much. So my story is super short, so apologies. Don't apologise, Sam. This is your email. I grew up in a 1930s house in an estate in the south, down in Lewes, East Sussex, England. Anyone who knows the area knows it's rich in history, and we celebrate Guy Fawkes, which for any outsiders is just weird. I appreciate watching a gang of thousands of people walking through the town with fire and burning the Pope and all other effigies is slightly out of the box. Anyway, I digress. Most people here are open-minded, but you still can't talk openly about things you see or hear without some looks. My house was a typical small 3-bedroom house with thin walls and not much room. I lived with my 2 older sisters, so we all had to share rooms on and off. So it was common for things to move or go missing or for us to all hear footsteps going up and down the stairs. And I mostly put it down to one of them, so I never thought anything about it. Pictures would move and lights wouldn't work or would go on and off. But I genuinely wasn't scared or worried. One day I was in the shower. I must have been 10 or 11 years old, so it was early before going to bed. Then a woman, who looked in her 80s, walked past me, stopped, looked at me, and walked on. I screamed. I remember not being able to move and just screaming, closing my eyes. A lot of panic after happened from my parents, and they all thought I was just tired, so I was obviously imagining things. So it was just never spoken about again. It never happened after, and no one else ever saw anything else. But I can still remember exactly what she looked like. And the fact she looked at me still freaks me out. It took years for me to realise this might have happened and not something I imagined as a kid. Anyway, maybe not the most thrilling story, but it still makes an impact on me 25 years later. Massive love to you all and keep going. Why, thank you, Sam. And when you say not the most thrilling, I'm sorry, but if I was having a shower and an 80-year-old woman who does not live in the house decided to stop, turn, look at me and carry on, well, I'd be terrified. And not just in case she then went to spread the word of my tiny genitalia to the spirit world, but I would be genuinely terrified. And that is terrifying because also within that, it doesn't sound like a residual haunting, because if she's turned to look at you, she's sentient. You know, she's not just walking past. She's not doing a stone tape theory type of haunting where I always walk this route on the 3rd Thursday of every month. No one can stop me and I don't see you and you don't see me. No, she's choosing to stop, turn and go, hello, and then carry on. And that's fucking petrifying. So Sam, thank you so much for your story. It is terrifying and it does deserve to be heard. And more importantly, you deserve to be believed. So thank you for sending it in genuinely and honestly. Now, if you've got a story that you want me to shout out on the show, shout out. I won't shout it, I'll just read it. Email us, please. contact@talkaboutghosts.com. And I'll read it out. In the meantime, shall we all prepare ourselves as we get ready to go over to the darkest place on earth? That is, the couch where Bekah sits.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for Paranormal Reddit Corner with Bekah.
Yes, so of course, it's that time in the show where I travel down to the dark, dark depths of the beautiful and light and refreshing Bekahs Reddit Corner. Hello.
Hello, welcome.
welcome. I mean, thank you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm okay. We done an escape room yesterday, didn't we, for the first time?
We did, yeah. I've never done one before.
We didn't succeed. We didn't escape.
We did all right, though.
We didn't do too bad, considering we'd never done it before.
Yeah. And she said it was the hardest one.
It was the hardest one. Basically, we had to solve crimes to stop Dr. Watson.
Solve clues.
Solve clues. To stop the crime of Dr. Watson being murdered happening. Sherlock Holmes' mate. But we didn't know how rough and ready or not rough and ready we could be with everything that was in the room.
Yeah.
Because she was like, don't move any furniture that doesn't look like it's meant to be moved. And you're like, what? And then at one point, there's a radio playing saying, push the button on the main desk. And there's no button on the main desk. And then she, the helpful lady who works there, comes through the speakers and goes, right, so you need to search all around the main desk. We had to fucking pull the drawers out of the main desk and turf them onto the floor. So
yeah, there was literally right at the back, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there's a bit of mixed messages going on.
Yeah. I did all right. I was surprised.
Well,
I thought I was going to be absolutely rubbish at this, but I put the radio on and changed the frequency to get that message.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of clues that I found and got worked out the puzzle kind of thing.
Yeah, you worked the puzzle out on the date, which opened a lock.
Yeah, and then I worked the puzzle out on the shapes.
Yes, which eventually opened a wardrobe, which had a room hidden behind the wardrobe.
Yeah.
All in, it was a very good experience, wasn't it? We
Yeah,
were saying we liked it more than we thought we would.
Yeah, I'd do it again, yeah.
Yeah, I'd do it again too. Yeah, and then we went across to this illusion place, didn't we? Because it was raining yesterday.
Yeah.
We wanted to go for a walk, but the weather was against us. So we had a day in Liverpool and decided what we could do. So it was an escape room followed by this place called Quirky Quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is you take part in a load of illusions and stuff. There was one there where there was a load of mirrors split up, sectioned up, so that if you stood in a certain way and aligned your faces, it'd be my forehead with your eyes, with my nose, with your mouth.
Yeah.
And if there was ever an advert against us breeding, it was this fucking mirror.
It's really horrendous.
It was the stuff of nightmares. Yeah. There is a photo of it, isn't there, somewhere?
Mm.
And it's honestly. We've created a monster.
Yeah, it was all right in there. It was okay. I think it was fantastic. I thought it was all right. It was quite good. It was fine.
Yeah.
But at the end, it
made itself worth it in the end, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because there was a hall of mirrors. A spotless hall of mirrors doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, no, not a hall of mirrors. It was a maze of mirrors.
A maze of mirrors, and they were all spotless mirrors. You have to go in wearing gloves so that you don't smear the mirrors.
So you actually couldn't see it. It was so disorientating because you think you saw a clear path and you're like, oh, that's the path, and you walk towards it and it was mirrors. Yeah.
And it was dead funny because there was this young girl in there who was with a mate, but I kept seeing her and thinking she was behind us, and at once it was a mirror, and I said to Becca, this is like the Matrix, this girl. Because it looked like when she'd appear, she'd step out, look directly at me, and then disappear. And I said to Becca, this is like the Matrix, this. And just as I went to explain why, she was behind us, but I didn't know whether it was the mirror or her. And then she ran past us, and it was her.
Yeah, it was so odd. At one point, I saw someone behind me, but when I looked around, it was just me, because the mirrors are all oddly angled. It was so. And then as we were trying to leave at the end, this was funny, wasn't it? There was a group of fellas, I think Norwegian fellas, who stood over the match. And as we were walking down, I could kind of see them, but as there's no straight lines, you can't. And as we got down, there was two they were both to the left and the right. Yeah. And you don't know how to go around someone. And at one point I was like, which one of you is a real?
Yeah. And they both were though, wasn't it? That was the weird thing. It was
no, they can't have, because one was obviously a mirror reflection. That's what I mean.
No, they're both real.
What are you talking about? No, there were two
of the same person.
Yeah, it was the two groups. That was why it was funny.
Oh, I think. Oh, right, yeah. Now I understand why we all laughed. I joined in anyway.
No, there were two groups of people. That's it. It was the same group of people, but you could see them twice, clear as day. And that's why I was like, right. Which one of you is real?
I see. But you were talking. It was you both had your hands up towards each other like mimes, didn't you? Two mimes meeting, and it turns out he was the real one. And then it was very good.
Yeah, it was good.
Hall of mirrors all down for. Maybe not the illusionary
Maze
part.
of mirrors.
Maze of mirrors. Because some of the illusions were a bit shit. One was sit in this chair and have a virtual haircut. It was just speakers either side of your head of scissor sounds. And I was like, what? You were doing it. And I was like, so what's going on? You were like, just sounds like someone's snipping scissors.
Yeah, maybe I was a bit desensitized to it, because obviously you're quite into your audio. You're into your music and obviously your podcast and things. So for you, the idea of sounds coming from left to right and going behind you and stuff. That seems very standard to me. Whereas I don't know, maybe if.
But whereas that, because I'm from the 80s, like the 70s and 80s, I think it's like wizardry.
No, the opposite. I mean, maybe because of you, I'm desensitized to it and unimpressed by it.
Oh, okay.
Whereas maybe if you didn't live someone who was so into the rodeo, that would seem like a novelty.
Maybe.
Like the idea of it going left to right and then, because although at one point this was weird, as in sat in this chair with the hairdresser, like it's the whole thing is you getting a haircut, and it must be the point of it is obviously the sound because like it goes left to right.
You are meant to have your eyes closed. You refuse to do that.
Yeah, damn right. And if I had, I'd as soon open them because it started off when he said, "I'm going to get this plastic bag. I'm just going to put this plastic bag over your head." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, even I heard that.
So
and it was like everything became muffled on the sound, like he was trying to strangle you.
It was unacceptable.
The last thing, then we will move on to the Reddit Corner, which was hysterical. So in this like quirky place, she goes, "Okay, please go through this door and start your adventure." And you go, "Okay." So you go through this door and you're just like in a like small library. And it was like, well, there's no obvious doors out. So there must be. So there was a telephone there. So I picked up the telephone and this bookshelf moved along the side.
Like revealing this vortex. Like this vortex big white room.
That you're meant to walk through. That's the start of it. But there was a kid of about 12 on the other side of this door. And he came out of that. And like almost panting, like, and then ran off through the exit.
And he looks at you and like kind of like nodded his head and rolled his eyes as if to say like, "Oh, this place." Then.
Yeah.
And like got up and we were like, "Where?"
We were howling because I actually put the phone back down and the bookcase just closed again. And I went, "Has he been like just like trapped there for centuries or something?"
Yeah. Where has he come from? How has he got here?
It turns out he's just obviously gone the wrong way. But anyway, have you had anything spooky other than young children just appearing out of bookcases?
It sounds quite spooky.
Because here's one for you. We both have.
No, we haven't.
Yes, we have. Don't tell fucking fibs.
That's aggressive.
Viscerous, violent one. Don't tell fucking fibs, Becca.
the way I was aggressive as it was, and then the word fibs.
I know, yeah.
That's it.
Don't tell fucking porky pies. Anyway, I was lying in bed the other night, about 2 a.m. Genuinely, I hear on what I think is the front door, but it could have been a wall. A proper knock, not like a creak, not like it was 4 times, 4 knocks, an actual knock to the point where it got up, I got my torch, stood at the top of the stairs.
What torch?
On my phone.
Oh, right.
Oh, sorry, I forgot that you've got a Nokia.
What? As if you like sleep with a torch.
Oh, right,
I got me flashlight. Yeah. Like what?
Picked up my revolver. No, I stood at the top of the stairs and pointed it downstairs. The torch. I don't have a revolver. And waited just in silence to see, because then I'm thinking, but we've got a doorbell. So if you wanted us up at 2 a.m, you'd ring the doorbell. Anyway, I went back to bed and just listened out, and nothing else happened. But
I mean, it's hilarious. So the idea that you've got up to investigate, but so at the top of the stairs, because we've got 2 doors, it's like a porch, isn't it, outside, which we use as an airlock for the neighbour's cat. So from the inside, it's a full door, like a wooden door, like a normal internal door out, and then you've got the main door outside, like your external door. So why you got up and just stood at the top of the stairs looking down at this internal door is utterly beyond me, because you can't see a thing. Well, it's not investigating. You haven't looked at. No, it's been better looking out the window.
Not to see if I'd heard a knock again or anything.
Do you mean to see if you heard a knock again?
Oh, do you know? We just remain quiet. I was vigilant.
I know you're just saying it, Dave. If you're saying you've investigated I got up to investigate. You've got up to look at a blank wall.
Yeah, but also I didn't know whether it was coming from the wall or it was the door. It was just a definite 4 knocks. Anyway, then the other afternoon, in fact yesterday was, or the day before yesterday, we're sat on the couch. The doorbell rings twice.
It rang once, I think.
It didn't. It went ding dong, ding dong.
I don't think it did. I think it was once.
Well, I was here too, so it did.
Well, anyway, I was here too, and I think it didn't.
During the second ring, I'm already up at the first ring, and the door to open the door is right by the couch. Open the door, no one there. Step out, no one there. No one has run off. There's no noise of feet. There's no one appears to be hiding. And then we slanted the blinds in a way that we could look out. There's no one. Didn't go again.
Yeah, because we're a bit weird. We proper overthink stuff like that.
Yeah, we literally bought a Ring camera there and then.
Yeah, we're horrified by unexpected people coming to the door on, we were like absolutely horrified by it. Like, please only come via firm appointment only. Within the agreed 5-minute time frame. Like, we're like horrified by that, just by something just going, unless it's a delivery, which we like accept.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because funny enough, this is the thing, is that like the last 2 or 3 deliveries we've had, for whatever reason, must be the new fucking delivery driver man or whatever, they've found this really annoying way of what they do is they ring the bell and leave your item on the step and just fuck off. No matter what it is.
I didn't mind that much in principle, apart from when it was a big box, because our door opens out, so they put this big box in front of the door. Out. Yeah, I couldn't open the damn door.
Exactly. So when I went to the door and seen there was no one there, I was like, it must be a delivery, but there was nothing.
Yeah, so I was obviously convinced then that someone was prepping for a home invasion. Yeah, because that's the only explanation I would say.
So we set up the one camera we had, didn't we? Yeah. And then decided we'd buy a Ring doorbell.
Yeah, we have said for ages we get a Ring doorbell anyway, so it's about time. But then we did see later 2 kids just like running around, didn't we? So I was like, well, that's what it'll be. You know, they were like running and sneaking and hiding behind cars and stuff. So
it wasn't running, sneaking, hiding behind cars. One was on a bike and one was running with a spade.
A spade?
Yeah. But what my point is, they weren't running, sneaking, hiding
I think they
behind
were.
cars.
They were just like running around the close, which is quite unusual for here. And I think it was just being kids.
I'm not against it being just being knock and run, obviously, but for it to go to twice,
Jesus,
that's bizarre. Well, we couldn't have timed that any better, could we? Like, genuinely. Yeah. I mean, also, though, when it's a ring followed by a knock, I know it's the postie, because he just wants to make sure that he's here. And it was the postie.
It was, yeah.
All right. So, yeah, that fucking hell, that made the shit up me that. Because I genuinely did, you know, the paranormal part of me is like, something's trying to enter this house. Yeah, so I did get a bit freaked out when that went off when we were talking about it. But talk about perfect timing.
Yeah, I don't think the paranormal was trying to get in. It was just the kids hitting the doorbell. And as I said, now we've ordered the Ring doorbell. Once that's up, the whole thing will just be completely put to bed. Because if it happens again, we'll see exactly what happens. Yeah,
that's true. And also, just to say, the most awkward thing about me going to the door then, when it rang, is I was wearing 2 rose-coloured under-eye gel patches, like to stop bags under your eyes. And as I got to the front door, I went to Becca, I can't answer the door like this to another man. So I quickly disposed of them.
I think you can answer the door like that. You're in your own house, so you're fine.
Yeah, I know, but I can't.
Why?
Because I'd end up throwing myself out of a window. When it ruminates on my mind, I'd be like, I can't believe that, like...
Well, why?
Because he's Becca, a postman is a man who works through the elements and, like, works with his hands, and he's there, snow, day, night, rough, rugged man, knock, knock, bang, bang, ride a bike in the weathers.
Yeah.
And then I answer the door in my flowing gown and eye mask and hello.
You're not wearing a flowing gown. What's wrong with that? You do wear an eye mask, so what's about you in your own home? I think just opening the door. It'll seem worse.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you should be fine.
I know. Just a humiliation. The next time I go to
Why is it a humiliation?
Well, because I often frequent the postmaster's evening class.
But why? That's my point. Why would there be humiliation?
Because I believe in toxic masculinity, don't I? Don't believe in it, but like, you know, it harbours heavy on my soul.
Well, maybe challenging it in this kind of way is the best way to.
You're quite right. And the next time when that Ring doorbell arrives between 1 and 2 p.m. this afternoon, as it's scheduled to, then you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to put on one of your nighties.
Nighties.
You got a nightie? You've got a nightie.
Got a nightie.
Have you got a nightie?
I guess.
Do you know what a nightie is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a sleep dress.
Like a sleep dress, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't have like a nightgown, which is the type that I think you're thinking of.
No, I don't mean like something that you'd carry a candle through the house with.
I don't have one with sleeves, put it that way.
Oh, God, it's getting riskier by the minute. Tell you what, I'm going to stick it to the man. And I'll say to him as I grab the Ring doorbell off him, do us a favour, tell the postie from earlier, because they all must work together.
I'm sure they do, yeah.
When you see the postie from earlier, tell him there's a new Kev in town, and he wears eye masks and he's proud.
Honestly, I think you could wear an eye mask.
Well, then I'm screwed up and in the bin. So I'm going to blame that postman for my not perfect under eyes today. Anyway, none of this is paranormal. What is paranormal is this story from Reddit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome to Reddit Corner with Becca.
Oh, that was sultry and quite low.
The title of this story is My Ghost Experience, open bracket, or most likely demon experience.
Well,
close bracket.
What can you say?
It was a casual day, and I was hanging out with my family. This was a year ago. I was 15. I was all of a sudden tired, and my family had gone to bed. So I went in my room. I wanted to go to bed, so that night I had locked my bedroom door, because that night, seriously, a cursory glance was, honest to God. Right, so I went in my room. I wanted to go to bed, so that night I had locked my bedroom door, because that night had some bad people on that street that night, and I was scared of someone breaking in.
Okay, so all right, forgive the person who's wrote it grammar, but what we can take from that is they were afraid, they've seen a gang of people on the street, somebody might break in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll translate this as we go if you want.
I'll ask if I need you to translate.
Fair enough, yeah.
I all of a sudden woke up to a large bag.
Boom. Bag?
Bag? Yeah.
You mean bang?
Me being a teen, decided to arm myself with scissors just in case somebody broke in. I sat on my bed very still just in case I heard anything. Then all of a sudden heard footsteps walking up to my bedroom door.
Terrifying.
I felt paralysed with fear, not being able to move. Then I heard, I think they're trying to say guttural, growl. Then I started to hear something climbing on the roof in my room.
That's spooky as fuck.
I just sat there in fear, not being able to move. Then I felt something sit down on my bed, and I could feel cold air on my neck. I asked, hello? In fear.
Fuck that. Hello?
Then something growled in my ear really loudly. Then I felt a shiver down my spine. Then whatever was there got out of the bed. I felt the bed lift or become lighter. And then I heard another bang, and then silence. I felt so frightened that I couldn't move for a while. Then I slowly calmed down and couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. Can someone please tell me what that is and what I just experienced?
You know what? Genuinely, seriously, I know that we often read these Reddit stories, and we don't, as I said, we don't mock them. We might, certainly say whether we believe them or not, or whether it sounds authentic or not. For me, that sounds very authentic. Penned by a 16-year-old girl, there are several points within that, for me, which shout authenticity. One is the length. She's not trying to drag it out to say, and then again, it's like 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
2 is how she describes it.
I don't know, it's she.
Is it not mentioned? I've just picked. That's what I'm surmising from the way it's been written.
No, I don't think so. Just a teen.
Okay, fair play. Okay, well, the second point why I think it's authentic is the way they've termed the events taking place. It's quite factual. It's like I had footsteps coming up. There was a weight on my bed. I had a growl in my ear. There was something moving on the ceiling. Within all that, they're all just descriptors. They're not like, there's no story element to it. They're not trying to tell, in my opinion, a fabrication. They're just delivering events. As you would, if, for example, if you're telling me that the cat, who our cat hates, was going across our back garden, you tell that as in she was pouring up the window, I looked out, the black cat was there, this happened, fact to fact, you wouldn't go. And I mused over it for a while and wondered just why would this black cat be in the garden, which is often you see within embellished stories. That contains none of that.
Okay. Well, someone's commented, I would be praying to God for help. Sounds evil.
Fair enough.
Which is nice. And someone else says, just saying the name Jesus scares those shits away. Try your best not to get scared. That's what they feed off.
Is she talking about individual magpies there instead of...
Yeah, no, that's not a thing. That's just you. Literally just you who does that.
No, I'm sorry. There is more than me in the world who, when they see one single magpie, does something. No,
people do things. They don't do your convoluted monologue.
It's not a monologue. I say, good afternoon or good morning, Mr. Magpie. How's your wife? Jesus, Jacob.
Yeah, so the common thing is, with a magpie, there's a rhyme for magpies, isn't there? One for sorrow, two for joy, and so on. And if you see one, you're supposed to salute it to...
Oh, I do salute as well, yeah.
To negate the bad luck.
I salute while I'm saying it.
To negate the sorrow, right? To ward yourself against sorrow. So a lot of people will salute a magpie, fine.
But there's also, you would say good morning to a magpie.
I will accept that some people say good morning to a magpie. Or good afternoon or whatever. That's it, that's the end of it.
Other people say Jesus when they see a magpie.
No, they don't.
You do?
So you say both good morning, how's your wife?
Yeah. Go ask how his wife is.
Just belt out the word Jesus and
then
go, Jacob.
Yeah.
And you do it in that tone every time. Jacob.
I've also got to be very careful where I put the full stops in. Because otherwise it says...
Good afternoon, Mr. Magpie. Salute. Oh, that's it. And you say salute.
Do I?
Yeah, you say, you go, good afternoon, Mr. Magpie. Salute. How's your wife? Jesus, Jacob. That's it. And so you've done it so many times, it's actually stuck in my head. It's like,
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so why do you say salute? And why do you belt out the word Jacob at the end?
Somebody told me you
So
should say
weird.
Jacob.
I don't think it is. I think you started saying Jacob when we watched Ozark, and one of the main characters, not an evil, like a hard knock kind of violent character, drug dealer, was called Jacob. And for some reason, you've got them melded in together.
I genuinely don't think that's the case. I genuinely don't think I'm that much of a fucking simpleton that I'll be like, I really like this programme. What do you say when you see Magpie Kevin?
Jacob.
I go, Homer Simpson. I don't think...
But it was around that time. Because I've seen the evolution of this. You always used to say, hello, good morning, Mr. Magpie, salute, how's your wife? That was it for a while, and you would salute.
And then somebody said you should say Jesus,
point...
and I'm a Catholic, so therefore I was like, well, maybe you should.
Okay, so you added on the word Jesus, you just randomly throw in the word Jesus. What made you then throw
I can't recall where Jacob came into it, but I'm sure somebody said something like, you should always say the word Jacob because magpies in the biblical sense have something to do with Jacob.
Something to do with Jacob.
Well, I just picked it up.
So maybe you are a simpleton who's that easily influenced. I don't know, someone once mentioned the word Jacob in a sentence to do with magpies.
You know what, this is how religion started, with snowballs like this. If I live to 90, which I'm not going to, but if it did, arguably you could take the story on and give it to like a relative of ours. Probably won't be any children of ours if that mirrors anything to go by, because they'll be in a circus. But you could, if you give it to like a nephew or a niece and just say, here's the sayings your uncle used to say about magpies, and in 4,000 years' time they'd be like, yes, we almost pray to Saint Kevin, king of the magpies, for he taught us the prayer, and everyone will go, morning, Mr. Magpie, how's your wife? Salute,
No,
Jesus,
how's your wife?
Jacob. But there'll be more added on by that point. Do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight, moonwalk to the moon, here's a magpie.
Yeah, I never really knew why you just threw on Jesus, and I certainly never knew why you threw on Jacob.
Well, that's why you need to be careful where you place the sentence, how's your wife? Because, if I say, salute, how's your wife, Jesus? Well, one.
How's your wife? Jesus. Jacob.
How's your wife? Yeah, that's a full stop. How's your wife? Jesus. Jacob.
I don't get. I was just saying the word. Does anything either? Saying these names.
Magical power. There's a magical place. We're on our way there.
Are we?
With magpies a million, all under one roof. It's called Magpies. That was the Toys R Us theme. Anyway, this has gone on far too long for a Reddit Corner. 25 minutes. Honest to God.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I keeping you?
Thank you very much for inviting us into your corner.
You're welcome.
Any parting words before I kill you?
You've got to stop this. You've got to stop threatening to kill me on the podcast.
I don't know. I know
it's
the
weird.
thing is, when I say any final words, it does sound like I'm going to kill you, so I just throw in before I kill you.
You have to stop this. Guys, seriously, if I suddenly disappear from this podcast, reach out, and if I don't answer you, he's killed me. and I need you to flag to the police that
I don't think they don't need to do anything. It'll be, there's audio there out in the world. And I'll make it a deal. If I kill you, it will be because I've had some sort of absolute breakdown. So I promise you that if I do, I will.
Thanks, sweetie. That's really reassuring.
I'll release a podcast to admit it about that. The Confession. It'll be called.
No deal. No deal at all.
It'll have really cool intro music. Music.
Music.
And it will feature children.
I'd actually rather just live through your breakdown if that's all right. I don't see why you're going to take me down with you.
Tis your choice.
I'm glad to hear it.
Okay.
Right. Well, thank you for joining Reddit Corner with Becca. Dial 2 9s and keep the last one ready.
I say that all the time and you've robbed that from me, but what we should actually say is dial 3 9s and get ready to press dial. Because otherwise they've got 2 buttons.
But you might accidentally press dial.
Like I did. I'll tell you about that time. This is the final thing I'll say. I'm dragging this out now. Did you know that if you got an iPhone and you hit the side button like 3 times, it does an emergency call?
I've heard that, yeah.
Right. Well, and we haven't even touched on the emergency alert, so we'll have to do that on Patreon this week. But anyway.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Because I have that much shit in my pockets, I wear tight jeans because I think I'm 12.
We're very tight jeans.
All right, Beck. Fucking hell. Anyway, clearly as I've walked, this button's been getting pressed in and out. And he had my headphones in. And I just weird, like a song, because he had like Spotify radio on, so it just goes from random song to random song. Just like, woo, comes in my ears. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is. And then he, hello, like whatever it is. And
what's your emergency?
Yeah, I was like, what? And I pulled my phone, like things are falling out my pockets, so I reach for my phone. And I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. No, there's nothing going on. I'm really genuinely sorry. Because in my mind, because I'm such a fucking panic person, I can go to jail for that, or they can fine me.
Seems a bit much.
Yeah, exactly. It does, doesn't it? Just shows where my paranoia sits.
Although, if you ever do that, you should say to them, "Oh, I'm awfully sorry, it was a mistake," and like let them know so that they don't think that you're trying to do like a subtle call and you can't speak to them.
Well,
really, you know what I mean? It's worth saying like, "Oh, I'm really sorry."
Yeah. Well,
and they won't send you to prison over it.
Yeah. Okay. But I do want to discuss in more detail this emergency alert that went out. Okay. But we're not now. Okay. It's already almost a full episode's worth of just this. Okay. Well, thank you, Becca.
You're welcome.
Tatty bye.
Bye, guys.